I'm raised in Las Vegas, moved here when I was about 3 years old from Illinois. My dad brought us out here, so I stayed here ever since. I started drinking, taking swigs of his whiskey out of the fridge when he was not home. Later on, when I got older enough to buy beers or whatever at the bars, I started going out to there. And, I just like the feeling of it. See, my dad was an alcoholic. It was okay with me. I didn't really start drinking until I was about in my 30s. Later on, started progressing. I got into radio broadcasting, and I was so-called celebrity, doing live promotes, and I get free beers at the bars. Just got to the point I was drinking on the job. Got that bad. 1 bottle of vodka every 3 days, and that I needed help then. So that's when I reached out. At the same time, my company got downsized, and I was laid off too. Like the rest of them, I lost my house, got foreclosed, and I started drinking again, started up again. No place to live, staying with friends, and staying with my pastor I knew, stayed at his house for a while. He knew about this place, Las Vegas Rescue Mission, so he dropped me off here.
I grew up in Las Vegas. My parents being from Cuba and being so young, they had a really difficult time making the adjustment from Cuba to Las Vegas. And so there was it was very different in raising us. It was my dad was a bookie. We had money, we had things, but my parents, like my mom, really struggled with having children and teaching us. I would say, my self-worth was really bad because I grew up with a mom that told me the most ungratifying thing she'd ever done in her life was have me. And so I just believed that if she felt like that and she was my mother, how can anybody love me? Being a girl, my parents had a really tight rein on me, and I remember I always wanted to fit in, but I didn't feel like I fit in, and that I was different. And then when I picked up the alcohol, all of a sudden I fit in. All my insecurities and all my inhibitions and everything that I thought that I was lacking was I was able to leave it behind. As soon as I started drinking and using, I knew that I had a problem because I would get out of control. And then I tried to maintain it and to control the drinking and the using, but somehow or another I always crashed. I always hit a wall. I remember for a long time for me, I didn't want to live. It was painful. Living is painful. The drugs and the alcohol, they really cut me off spiritually from God and from Christ and from the power that I knew that He had to redeem me and to restore me. And so that's when I made this decision to come to the mission.
I was born and raised right here in Las Vegas, Nevada in 1957 when the town was very small. I grew up mostly in a middle-class family. My father worked. My mother had 8 kids, so she didn't start working until my baby sister was in elementary school. My childhood was pretty normal. Pretty normal. We did things. My father always made sure we went on vacations. Things didn't change for me when I noticed that, civil rights and stuff like that came along. When I noticed that, I went to an all-black elementary school. When I got to integration, that's when things started changing in my life, when I noticed things were different. Pretty well I kept up with that, but I also had a traumatic event when I was in 7th grade. My oldest brother died of cancer. And when he passed away, that was very traumatic for me. It kind of like made me feel like I didn't want people to get close, or I didn't want to get close to people because I knew that I would lose them. And so it had a big impact on me. By the time I got up in high school, I wanted to play sports. I always played sports. You know, though I wasn't a superstar, I always played and was good enough to make the team. When I got into the 11th grade, my mother said, that's it. And she wanted me to get a job at 16. And I held a lot of resentments because of that. In my 11th grade year, when my friends were out having fun, being kids, I was working an 8-hour job, having to leave school early for sometimes in 11th grade just to catch the bus so I can be to work on time. The big downfall for me is when I started hanging around the older kids on the job, the partying, you know, to going out to having a drink, to the introduction to drugs as a cool thing to do. I thought, and by the time I was in the 12th grade, I thought that everybody used marijuana. When I found out that later on in life, that maybe I was just hanging around people who did use marijuana. The majority of people didn't. The seed was already set in me that I needed some kind of substance in my body in order to make me feel normal. And it increased with that as far as trying new things. I was approximately 25, 26. I got introduced to crack cocaine. And those times that I went out and endeavored in the drug areas or whatever, I went to a lot of dangerous places, put myself at a lot of risk, but no harm ever came to me. And I think that God was looking out after me even before when I couldn't even look out for myself.
They taught me a lot here. How to, if you got triggers, they teach you how to handle that, how not to go out and drink, what's going to happen, or how to reverse yourself, repent. The Genesis process is in an intense book. It gets you thinking. Sometimes you have to read it over and over just to get the idea of it, but once it sinks in your head, it does make sense. If you feel the need to read the book, you know, if you got a problem you feel as you're going to relapse, you think you might, just open the book and read what you wrote down in it. Because that came from your heart anyway, what you put down. That's you, yourself speaking. That's your words in the book. So go back on that. If you have a problem, refer to the Genesis book.
I'm the type of person, what I've learned is that I have to do the right action to lead to the right thinking. I can't think my way into right behavior. I have to behave my way into right thinking. That's just been my experience. And so as I've gone through these last 6 months, I take action, I do the right thing, and then I wait and listen to see what God has to say. Going back into the Genesis course and finding out that whenever I was overwhelmed or whenever I was facing a decision or had to do something, they call it in Genesis facing the bear, that I had to develop a different experience, that I had to hold on to God, that they explained to me that courage was walking through your fear. I started asking the Lord to change my heart and to take my mind and to mold me and to give me a hunger and desire to glorify Him. And there's a freedom in that I've never really experienced before.
I just said, I can't do this anymore. You know, I have to do something. So I called my boss up and told him that I'm going to have to resign immediately because this drugs and alcohol has been a problem that's been plaguing me, you know, for the last 20 years. and I need to do something about it. He said, okay, and wished me the best. And that's when I got on the phone and started calling down at the rescue mission. When I finally got in here, finally, I was thoroughly broken. I had no questions about following what authority said, because I tried it my way over and over again and it didn't work. The rescue mission suggested to me that I give it up to God. I had tried, but I never knew what that meant until one morning I walked out on the veranda and I just looked up in the sky and I said, God, I give it to you. Help me. And I felt like 10,000 pounds had just been lifted off of my chest. Going through the Genesis process has helped me be honest with myself. And I did something that I had never done in all the treatments before that came up to this date, was they had made suggestions. Get a sponsor. Pick an outside church. I think back over my life when I didn't believe in God. I can even say that I was an atheist, that He believed in me because He saved me in order to reach this point.
Right now, the mission has been very good to me, and for me to repay them, I'm doing hard work at the thrift store in the electronics shop in there, and I'm very well respected. My plans are to get a job, hopefully back into radio broadcasting. And one of the advantages of being in a thrift store, I have a lot of leads. These customers know what I can do, and they have some jobs lined up for me. And so I'm looking forward to that when I get out of here.
I'm looking to sober living, and I got a part-time job now, but I'm looking for full-time employment, and then I'm going to go I want to go to school to be a substance abuse counselor. And I think that through that and my own personal testimony, that I'll be able to take all the experience and everything I've gone through in my life and use it to benefit people.
After commencing the program, I'm going to continue on as the intake coordinator, a position that was offered to me. I don't know how. It's another God's intervention. I was offered the job even before I commenced, but I'm going to continue in that position as the intake coordinator to interview people coming into the program. And this will be my biggest test as far as doing God's work. But Jesus teaches us that we need empathy to care about people, to put ourselves in their shoes, to understand. And that's the biggest way that I've learned that I can help people.